Okay, so let's start with the neck. Up, pulling the head back. And down. And then the hands up and out. And then turning the head. And the hands up. Down to prayer again. And then up and out again. And turning the head again, but more quickly. So 1, 2, 1. And then the hands up again. And down. And just pause long enough for the dizziness to dispel. And now up and out again. And now turning the head even more quickly. So past, so one, shaking the jowls effectively. and then up and down. And now just making like a loose fist with the right hand and just massage gently into the armpit. So we're just trying to get to the lymph glands. So there's three main places where there's lymph glands: the armpits, the leg pits, the inguinal folds, and the jaw neck. So we'll do the armpits now. And then the left fist into the right armpit. So all of these places have to be open. So this is the idea of meditating with your elbows out like this, is that your armpits are sprung open and the lymph is able to flow to and from the nose. And then very gently just massaging around the jaw and the neck, the throat, neck, whether you can, we know where the lymph glands are. You can feel them. And then now let's clasp the hands behind the back and rotate the head. And the other way. And then still clasping the hands behind the back, just leaning forwards. As you sink down, just try and lift the hands behind you. So it feels like the arms are vertical. Just careful with the lower back. Then squeezing to pull yourself back up. Then turning to the left knee and down over that. Then up, down the middle again. up, and then to the right. And up. And one more down the middle. And up. And then back round to breath. And now let's reach with one hand at a time, leading with the mind. Then forwards. And to the side, so turning even more. And then the strong twist. So one hand behind. And the other side. And the other side again. And the other side again. And then back round to the front. And now let's try the breathing. Expanding, relaxing out of that, and then contracting, relaxing out of that. The chest expands and then relaxes closed, and then the belly really tightens, and then you relax it open. And then, one at a time, this action of alternating open hand, fist, and just tight into the belly. Effectively figures of eight, but they're small. And then up into the heart. So you can imagine that the bottom of the figure eight is sort of scooping into the armpit. So we're getting those glands again, the lymph glands. And then bring it up to into the head. Using the bottom of the figure of eight to get into either side of the jaw and the neck. Feel the middle of the figure of eight, where it crosses over. It's being this point here between the eyes, the inside peripheral vision that sucks into that point in the brain. And then it's into prayer. And now just hands up and out. And just loose fists and a few twisting. And then just some tipping. Just feeling that something heavy is rolling down the arms to the bottom hand, but something light is rising up to the top hand. So full and empty. Good. And now just linking the fingers. So like these are what the ones we would normally do with the stick, yeah. So pulling, so gripping but pulling gently. Give a sense of something expanding across the chest. And then pushing the hands into each other. Now feeling something expanding across the back. And then pulling again. And pushing again. Good. And now let's rub the hands together. And now rubbing the knees. And then rubbing the hands again. Then placing the hands over the sacroiliacs and feeling it, feeling the sacroiliacs soaking up the heat, but also this feeling that the joints are seeping into your hands. A little bit of action between the hands. Softness is the ability to melt. It's just a sense that the solid parts of us are just becoming a little bit soft and liquid. And then rubbing the hands again. And now the hands on the back of the head. So the cranium becomes soft, malleable. All the plates in the cranium are separate from each other a little bit. And then just bring the hands round. So you're just holding the skull very gently, the middle of the palms looking through the ears. And then starting to tease the energy out of the ears. And gradually just homing in on that point of the occiput, the back of the head. So that's where you'd like to tease the energy out of. We'd like to be able to do the same thing with our own back heart, but of course we don't have the flexibility. And then just holding the arms out. Then the hands up and down to prayer. And then rubbing the hands again, and we do the eyes. And then the hands over the eyes. Then the hands up and out. And now snaking. So as the hand comes in, turn your eyes towards it without moving the head. And then out with both hands, hands up, down into prayer. And now again, without moving the head, just look up as much as you can, and then look down. Up, down. And then the hands up and out again. And now without moving the eyes. So snaking, stimulating the peripheral vision. Then the hands up and down. So let's just rub the armpits again. You can use fists or just massage in there with your hands. The other one. So, yeah, John always used to really emphasize how these have to be really open when, when you're doing Tai Chi, but also when you're meditating. And now let's keep the eyes fixed again, but now tracing with peripheral vision with the hands. So out good. And then you can make prayer sort of the head, so it sort of splits the vision, so you can't really see what's to the right with the left eye. And then down, twisting the hands and let the hands drop. And now just one hand at a time and taking that thread from the top of the head. Okay. Stretching the legs. And a little bit in butterfly. Feel the glands that are in the groin. And then kneeling. And then down into fetus, however you want to get into it. Separating the feet, sitting down between them. And down into fetus again. Oh, and now lying back. And just feel the inguinal folds of the groin inside of the thigh, folding into the torso. So the glands there need to be just massaged gently. And then cycling, but with a feeling, imagine you've got two fists in your groin. So you're having to go around these fists with your legs. And pulling the knees up and out away from each other. And then up into the squat. Okay, let's just start off with that Qigong. Just softening the legs really. My arms come up and that drives me down into my legs a little bit. And my arms come down and that pushes my body up. Feeling the air as a medium, a thick medium that you're having to push through. You're having to work just as hard to push down as you are to push the arms up. bringing the feet completely together. And now tipping. And then shoulder width. And now just the bouncing. Just feel the armpits and feel the leg pits. So what I do with my students, I'll get them standing like this, like they're doing this exercise. And I come up behind them and just put my straight arms in their armpits. And very gently, I just lift. So they have a sense of their body is sinking, their arms are sinking, but there's a force upwards into the armpit. And we can imagine that. And it's the same here. The legs are going down, the body's going down, but there's a sense of something coming up into the leg pits. And then alternating. So if anything, when we do one at a time like this, it's easier to feel. So I want to feel that this force pushing up here isn't simply, it's not just opening the hip joint here, it's also pulling this hip away from the sacrum. So that's where I need to release really, is when my spine joins my legs. So if the sacroiliacs release, then the other joints in the legs will tend to release. And now just a bit wider. Same thing. Just beginning to get into sort of the full and the empty. The difficult bit is emptying, it's relaxing. So we want to cling on to tension all the time. So as I sink into this leg, I really want to feel this one just letting go. And a little bit wider still. Feel the sacrum, feel the sacroiliacs. And now just moving from leg to leg. Now very slow and deliberate. So I really feel the sinking, the filling, the compressing, but also I really feel the emptying, the expanding, the releasing. So compression, or contracting and expanding, they're like the two main forces. And I want to feel them operating together. So one side contracts, compresses, becomes strong, and the other side expands open. So part of my mind is with the strengthening, and part of my mind is with the emptying. So as this side becomes strong, it enables this side just to release its stored up energy. And then as you sink into the leg, really feel it going down into the heel. To feel the heel as like an opening into the ground. And if you let it, that hole will pull your sacrum towards it. this sense of something descending into the ground from my heel. That's the root. And it's the root that will actually pull your bum in, because it will pull your sacrum down towards the heel. And then you'll get the natural lift, this feeling that you want to look out rather than look down. So sinking into the heel, and that enables the other heel to come up. This is something we really want to get into, including in the form. It's just like one heel being on the ground at any one time. So I keep this heel up until the weight, until this leg's got more than half the weight, really, and then I let it down. And as it goes down, the other heel can then come up. So if you just delay the point of the heel going down, it just feels more deliberate then, just more power. And you can really feel it then. So if you've already got some weight in the foot, and then you put the heel down, you can feel the heel just sucking your tailbone down into it. Feel this, the leg pit. So keeping the heel off the ground for as long as possible just enables this just to really stay open. Going to put the heel down, and it's like I just get sucked down into it. Now, in order to get into the turning, let's try pulling in the rope. Feeling the arm reaching forwards, shoulder blade coming away from the spine, but also the legs straightening, the hip bone coming away from the sacrum. And then let it become the two circles. Instead of reaching forwards, I'm sort of reaching around the back. And then just turning, so knocking the gates of life. So one hand, the hand that's come in effectively to yield, and slips behind you and either strikes the Ming Men or grabs something from there. If you think of these filaments of energy coming out of your Ming Men, as your hand reaches behind, it just grabs a handful and plucks them out. This is Tai Chi, really, just bringing the energy of the back around to the front. And then the energy of the front just sinks in, it hollows. Keep the heels going, one down, one up. And then into riding horse. So this feeling here, this real space in the groin here. So not just on top of the adductor tendon, but behind it and underneath it as well. So the glands are here, so it's obvious where they are. They need to be massaged. So real sense that this is opening up. And then the same here. And then the sacroiliacs as well. And then you can really get a feeling that your sacrum is being drawn down into the heels, the descending heels. And then coming off the heels, so now the animal, and just try and lift the heels as high as you can. The feet have to be pretty strong. And just imagine the sacrum really heavy to stabilize the body. All the time trying to release the sacroiliacs and release the armpits here. And feel the thymus. The thymus will just start to burn. Real sense that you've come out of your body and you're now in front of yourself. And then rocking back. So one heel down. Feel the ground sucking this side of your sacrum down into it. And then the other heel down and this. So you've got these two roots, like a tail of energy coming from each side of the sacrum. So two tails, one going down into one heel, one going down into the other when unrooted, planted. Feel the space here. And then off the heels again. And feel how as soon as the heel lifts up, the tail, this side of the tail, can just flail, can just reach out behind you. It's free. And then heel down, goes down and sucks the tail from the sacrum. This one sucks the tail from the sacrum. And now let's just try the figure of eight around the feet. So effectively just doing that exercise. So something is sucked down the back, comes underneath the foot and then up the inside of the leg. Really want to feel this release into the heel. So sinking, this feeling of just sinking down onto the ground so that you can stack upwards like a pillar. So that's sinking, but it's not really the root. The root is something in me opens up, and this space underneath my heel opens up, and then I get a sense that I'm dropping down into the hole, that my opening has opened up. So this is much more difficult because it requires you to sort of enter a different reality, really, a really energetic reality. So this space beneath my heel opens, and then my sinking goes down into the abyss. And it's a very different mind because it's quite frightening. When you just sink onto a surface, it's quite reassuring because you can feel yourself getting stable and strong. But when you sink into a hole, into a blackness, then it's much more difficult. So that just requires real trust. So, ooh. And then let's bring the feet together and try some of this one. So for this one to be effective, you really have to feel the heaviness. Imagine someone comes up behind you and just presses on your shoulders. So it's really difficult to lift the heel. So we're having to lift it against the force. And feeling the figure of eight in the foot, a figure of eight inside each foot that your hand is tracing. The part of the figure of eight that's tends to be neglected is the bottom of the figure of eight, and that's the bit that goes around the heel. So that's the bit we have to. So it says the heel goes down, but it's sort of going down back in order to scoop under the ground. So thinking of the heel as the opposable thumb of the foot. So it reaches back in the same way that the toes reach forwards. And the same way that the toes can reach into the ground and grip, the heel can reach into the ground and grip. And then let's just jog it. Feel the leg pits still. And now let's try this exercise again, but with the feet wider apart. Again, just really feeling these spaces here. And then just figure 8ing, but feeling it in the hip. Yeah, so the top of the figure 8 is going around the iliac crest here, but the bottom is really scooping into here, into these these groin folds. Yeah, that's it. And then the same thing, but a bit wider. And now here, so getting into this armpit with the bottom of the figure of 8. Imagine you've got very short arms, but normal sized hands. Good. And now just turning, just the first small exercise, but just relaxed. You're just feeling the clarity of the system. Feeling that all of the joints in the body are sprung open or aerated, which gives you almost like an aloof quality, almost like you're hovering above yourself. The heels are still active, so one down, one up. Okay, and now it's backwards and forwards, but feeling the figure of eight. Let's feel the figure of eight in the knee. So my knee is going out and around, and then it passes it to this knee. It goes out and around. So ideally, it's the knee that is the active part of the leg. It's the same when we kick, it's the knee that comes up and then the leg that just flies out from that. So my knee is trying to escape all the time, but of course it's tied to the hip and the ankle. So there's only a certain amount of freedom is available to it. If it's wanting to go out, then this one wants to go out. But the spirit is in the knees. So when my weight starts moving into the leg, it's because this leg wants it. And feel it leading. So the freedom in the knee. As soon as the weight comes into the leg, the freedom is no longer in the knee, it has to go into the other one. So when you're with the knee, you're with the energy and the spirit, not with the weight. You're with where the weight is going to go. So here, here. So this is the lasso energy, throwing out the lasso and then catching something and pulling yourself in towards the thing that you've captured. Lassoing around that piece of ground and then pulling myself towards it. And the lasso is very much the top of the figure of eight. And then the bottom of the figure of eight is the tethering that you do to the foot once you've got the weight in it, which then enables the other knee to throw up its lasso. So the bottom of the figure of eight is the root, pulling yourself into the foot. The top of the figure of eight is the energy that's being released in order to catch something. And then the other foot. And then just start figure of eighting. So the top of the figure of eight is the lasso. The bottom of the figure eight grabs the foot that you're coming into. So the top of the figure eight is just releasing the lasso and sending it forwards. And then the bottom of the figure eight is then catching. Like you yank the rope in order to tighten the noose around the cow's neck or whatever. So over the top and catching, over the top and catching. Okay, good. Okay, let's just try a bit of this again. Okay, and now let's try just a little walk, but with a visualization. So, our stepping, so we've always got our balance. So just uh, imagine a stream and there's stepping stones across the stream. So you have to reach really carefully with the foot and just think of the leg being the lasso. So I pick up the foot and I extend it forwards and it catches that stone. And then I pull with the leg to bring myself onto it. So I've got my weight and then I can let the other foot come up. And then this one goes out, catches its stone and pulls my weight into it. So you're pulling yourself forwards with the toes. And then as the heel goes down, it's then with the back talon of the eagle, the heel, then you have a grip of the stone. Just pulling with the toes without the heel, you're liable to slip off it. And pulling, the heel goes back, catches the stone from behind, pull around the back, and then I can lift the back leg. This is walking. So each time the foot goes down, you're effectively doing a figure of 8 inside the foot. Toes grabbing the ground first, and then the heel, making sure you've got a real purchase. This is how you would walk if you were, let's say you're walking a rocky trail, and you have to be really careful where you place your foot. And you're walking barefoot, so if you're putting your foot on a stone, your foot has to sort of take the shape of the stone as you bring your weight into it. And just go slowly enough so that you can feel the heel. As my front heel goes down and really gets snug with that piece of ground, the other heel can lift up. It's almost like one action, one heel going down, the other heel coming up. As soon as both heels are on the ground, it's like part of me is just a little bit sleepy. It's like the spirit's no longer necessary because you've got a root, or you've got two roots, which is really stabilizing you. So this root is going down, or it's catching that stone or that piece of ground, then this one can come up. If I let the back heel linger too long, it's like I lose momentum. Mm. And you can really concentrate on this in the form, because we'd like this same mechanism, just one heel on the ground. So this feeling that as one heel goes down, it allows the other one to come up. So that should be in the form as well. So we're always having to find ways of making the form just a little bit more spirited, more active, because it tends to be a bit slow and sleepy. So this goes down, this can come up. And if you wanted to make it really active, then you'd bring up the back heel slightly before the front heel has gone down. Like those double kicks in Shen style. And they leap up and kick with one foot and then kick with the other before they've hit the ground. So, I bring the back heel up. So there's this moment when I'm really wobbly. This is why the feet have to be strong. This is why that exercise with one heel up, one heel down is so good. Just enables, just gives you something to practice spirit with. Ooh. Okay. And now let's just lift the knee. Let's pull the knee up. So all the time I'm just trying to relax around my sacrum. And then the other foot. Yeah, so remember, we just have to guard against just putting my weight in the leg. So I pull myself into the leg. So this knee goes up and out, and that draws me across. This feeling that I'm being sucked into the foot and into the root. So all the time, the forces are tensile. They're stretching and pulling at me rather than compressing me. Again, my mind has to keep that hole open in the ground beneath my heel. So I can have this feeling of streaming into the ground. And then something has to come up, otherwise I'd fall. So here this goes down, I pull, the knee goes out, and this opens and I get sucked across. And you can feel it, this side of the sacrum just gets drawn right down into the heel. So compressive forces, they're basically forces. They're not, it's nothing to do with energy. So when one thing pushes against another, it's just force. But when one thing pulls another, and you have this sort of stretchy relationship, and then it's much more likely to generate energy. So I let this go up and out, and that, ooh, I slowly get drawn across. Now I just have to keep the heel open so that I don't get a sense of stacking and packing. I just get a sense of extending all the time. So energy is the flow of intent. There's a line, and that's the direction of the energy. Down, if there's an arrow pointing down, there must be an arrow coming up as well. So here. Okay, so let's finish. So feel the spine. And then you've got this triangular bone, the sacrum at the bottom of it. And it's almost like each side of the sacrum is like a hole for the energy that's flowing down the spine to split into two. So that's what we need to just relax into. So, I get this sense of something splitting and flowing equally down each leg and through the heel and into the ground. So that's what's difficult. It's that continuity, just keeping it continuous, keeping it flowing. That's what we're so useless at nowadays because we've got these minds that are just endlessly distracted. So to keep the concentration, keep the focus. Remember that Steve Jobs quote? Focus is being able to say no to 1,000 good ideas. So you're just staying with the one thing, and all these distractions you're just saying no to. And the only way it'll happen is if you find it so interesting, everything else pales into insignificance. And then bringing the feet up. Legs still bent, so this feeling, ooh. Yeah, the legs, the feet, the two sides of the body, they're constantly playing. So the heel sucks you down into the ground. And when you come into the front of the foot, there's this feeling that you're wanting to propel yourself forwards. And if those are constantly playing with each other in this sort of figure of 8 in the foot, then, then anything is possible, really.